we can't be everything to everybody. And if you try to be everything to everybody, you will fail. You just can't. So you have to know what lane you're in and then do everything you can to really develop that lane.
So anyway, back to the concierge physicians. Call them, thank you for the referral, all that. Go and drop off in person, the office manager name on the envelope and then the physician's name. So 2 different envelopes at least. Going in there either unannounced or mentioning it to them, I might drop by or whatever. If they're available to speak, great. If not, no problem. Give it to the front desk person. That and referral pads. I don't know if you're doing any referral pads, but some physicians still use these and some do not. So like one of these concierge practices, they're like, yeah, we don't use those. I would, it's like 25 tear-offs, a referral blank. And obviously with our contact information, all that on the top. And so I would send either a text or an email, depending on what contact information I have of the concierge offices, like the office manager or whoever, and ask them like, hey, I'll say some physicians hate these and don't use them, and some physicians love them. Do you guys, would you find this useful? And, some of the offices are like, yeah, we don't use those at all. Like, you're on our list. Don't worry. Like, we'll let you know when, we have a patient referral. Okay, cool. And then like a podiatrist buddy of mine, he's like, yeah, that would make my life a lot easier. So I'm like, awesome. Like, let me drop that off. Going to just drop off one at a time because there's no point in dropping off 4 or 5 of them unless they're actually using the first tear off packet of the referrals. Are you guys doing that type of stuff? Are you doing that, that style of building relationships and dropping off pens and all the, that type of stuff, like multiple touch points over time? Is that pretty much what you guys are doing with those concierge physicians?
Yeah. So we look at the end of each month, we look at all our referrals that we had that month, and any new physician that referred, or PA or nurse practitioner, whatever, that referred to us, they get a new physician, new practice folder. So we actually, we've got our new patient folders with the iMove PT logo. So we put information about our practice. I send a customized letter, sign off on, I put it in there. And then either myself or I have a PTA that's helping me out now with marketing. She'll drop those and off to that office. So we're doing that each month. We're also, but I like to call ahead. This is just, again, I've been doing this for so long that I've learned what I like. So what I like may not be what other people like, but I know, when I had my former practice, there was one sales rep we have, I forget what even he sold, but he would come in the clinic, he would walk back and think
like Chattanooga or one of those.
Yeah, something like that. I forget exactly what. And he would expect to have my time. And meanwhile, I had a couple patients there. And finally, one day I told him, I said, look, you know what? Please, if you want to talk to me, if you just want to drop some off, that's fine. But if you want to have any meaningful conversation, can you please call ahead to make sure it's a good time? And so we make it a point that, again, unless you're truly just dropping something off and you don't care if you talk to anyone. But I was like, well, why would you do that? Why would you get in the car, waste gas money, and do that if you didn't really want to speak with somebody? We call ahead. I want to make sure that this is a good time, because the worst thing we can do is go into that office when either they're shorthanded or I'm not going to get to talk to anyone. Then I'm kind of looked at as a pain in the butt. But if you call ahead and say, hey, you know what? I plan on being in that area. Can you tell me a good time that I can stop by so I can talk to so-and-so for 5 minutes? I find that helpful. That way the person you want to talk to knows you're coming. Script pads, we still have script pads, but we give out, we have like 25 scripts in a pad. We'll tear off like 3 or 4. And we'll just, put 3 or 4 scripts in there. If we see them start to use the scripts, then we'll bring a whole pad over there. There's no point in giving them a whole pad, because you're right. Most will either throw it in a drawer and not ever see it. I would think they would give it to a patient, maybe tear off to a patient and say, hey, there's the people I want you to see. But again, they're expensive. So I would only tear off about 3 or 4, 4 or 5.
So you do 3 to 5 of the referral blank pages. You put that in the folder for the physician.
Yeah,
I like to get a little tactical when we're talking about this type of stuff.
Yeah, no, we tear off 3 or 4 or 5. And one thing that we don't do every time, but one thing it's a good idea, whether you give a whole script pad or tear up 3 or 4, put a little note on that last page that says, hey, Dr. So-and-so, this is the last script you have. Please contact our office and we'll be more than happy to bring more. Because what happens if they tear off that last one or they use that last script, they're not going to go to the front desk and say, hey, this is our last script. Please call Dr. Gorman and get some more script. They'll forget about it. But if you have that little note there, they can tear it off and hand it to whoever needs to call us. I do think that is worthwhile to do. But yeah, I just think that, again, when I first opened my other office in 2002, there was no Google ads and stuff like that, but the world has changed. And if you ignore it, it will affect you. You can't ignore it anymore. You can't ignore technology. It's just people are Googling PT near me.
Right. Yeah. And when you mentioned technology, I know we talked about in the pre-interview. In this episode, did we talk about the Instagram video and TikTok video? Did we say that yet?
I don't think so yet.
All right. So you had the mover, going back to the mover that previously had the bad physical therapy experience. And in the pre-interview, and that's why I don't always do pre-interviews, because I'll see something in the pre-interview and I think it's in the episode, or I don't want to mention it twice, or I just forget to mention the whole thing. Because anyway, so you had the mover that you met this past week or so, and he had that bad experience in physical therapy. In the pre-interview, I was saying, I think that is one of our huge technology and video, specifically Instagram and TikTok, is a huge advantage. And I'm doing a little bit, but we need to do way more in our practice with just demonstrating what treatment looks like, and, a therapist, entering an apartment building and, speaking to the front desk staff and the concierge front desk person and all that, and getting buzzed into an apartment building and walking up the steps or going in the elevator and all that. Or, manual therapy, or the technology, right? So we don't have Newbie, but we use the stim pod for nerve pain and aches and pains, and also some vagus nerve stimulation as well.
Cool.
So showing those types of things. And I think video, and it's organic reach, so it's free, but it only reaches so many people. So you could always juice those videos or ads, but I really think that Instagram video and TikTok video is what can change that gentleman's view on physical therapy, because he or she might see other patients being treated for common things, back pain, neck pain, knee injuries, whatever it is, headaches, and seeing those videos pop up on your news feed or whatever on Instagram or Facebook or TikTok or whatever. These are major platforms, and they're showing what's possible, what's available. And I think it really can change people's view of what we do. And here's another thing. In those videos, every single time, there is one common theme. Every single time, if you ever see a video of a physical therapist, massage therapist, chiropractor, acupuncture, whatever it is, most of the time, there's 2 people in the video. It's the person getting treatment and the person delivering treatment. Now, of course, you and I know there's a lot of physical therapy videos where it's just the patient or client, because they're doing agility, plyometrics, they're doing some exercise. So in some of those videos, it's just the patient or client or gym member or whatever in the video. I'm talking about video produced by and made by and published by practices.
Mm-hmm.
So most of the time, these videos are the one provider and the one patient. The reason why I'm saying it can change that mover's view on physical therapy, because he was at the clinic where they just pointed to go to do that exercise, go do that exercise, go to that exercise. And he may or may not have had any quality care or manual therapy or one-on-one attention or whatever. But the videos on Instagram and TikTok are demonstrating one-on-one treatment. So I think
are you saying that it's false advertising?
No, because the practices that are treating patients 2, 3, 4 patients per hour,
right,
are typically not really doing video at all anyway, because they're already volume based and they're not really doing. Think about even, where you sold to or whatever. Like they probably don't have a lot of great patient videos or treatment videos, or they probably don't even do a lot of social media because they don't even believe in it. They're just based off of they're the volume-based model. They're getting patients, all the, a bunch of physicians that are also in network or whatever are referring to them. So they're still doing things through the old model. I'm saying a lot of the physical therapy and chiro and other, acupuncture and dry needling videos nowadays, whether it's done by a physical therapist or someone else in our health and wellness world, it's showing the one-on-one treatment. So then it could potentially change people's viewpoint of physical therapy if they even had a bad experience of physical therapy in the past. They're going to see these videos and say, well, that's different than what I had in the past. So then they'll hopefully over time less often say physical therapy failed or it didn't work for me. And hopefully they realize that they had one version of physical therapy and then they're watching these Instagram and Facebook or TikTok videos and they're saying there's also this other one-on-one world. Like, and the post doesn't even have to say one-on-one. I'm saying the video is literally a physical therapist doing the newbie with a client, or they're doing the dry needling or whatever, or they're doing soft tissue work or joint mobilizations, or they're, it's all the chiros doing the back cracks and, adjusting the spines or whatever. But the point is all those videos, it's the one provider and the one patient. So that whole tidal wave of all these videos helps practices like you and I.
It does. And then it's, you and I talked about, you have to take time to create that video. But then once you shoot that video, like I can tell you, Dave, I have so many videos that would be incredible. But then it's like, you either have to block off time in your schedule where you're sitting at a computer for an hour or two and scheduling these out so they go out, or you have to hire someone. You have to hire someone that's willing to do it for you, because as a busy private practice owner, I mean, most private practice owners don't have, I know you work very hard, but most private practice owners don't see 1 or 2 patients a week. That would be incredible, but many of us will have a hard time getting down to that. But you have to film it. It doesn't have to be long. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you have to film it. And then you got to get there. Most people don't know what a physical therapist does. I still treat people that it amazes me, like I'm treating their neck or back, and then they talk about their foot. And they're like, oh, you can treat feet, or you can treat this. I'm like, we treat from head to toe. You have TMJ pain? Let me treat it. You have first MTP pain in your foot? I'll treat it. I mean, again, it's just, but you can't expect them to know everything we do. It's up to us to educate, and using Instagram, Facebook. I don't do anything on TikTok, but that's not a bad idea. I know. Especially now that it's legal again, right? Wasn't there talk about TikTok?
Yeah, there was some political BS about
it. We're not getting into politics, no. We're staying as far away from that as we can, buddy. I don't talk about that.
For sure. Okay. So we talked about, I mean, overall, this more patients and consumers paying out of pocket for a value exchange that just happens to be one-on-one physical therapy. So we're talking about the future of physical therapy. There's still a ton of folks that are always going to be insurance focused, insurance mindset. That's okay. A lot of folks that are on Medicare, Medicaid, or other lower paying plans that just don't have the financial resources to pay you or I out of pocket. That's okay. There's all these other clinics. Now, unfortunately, we can't say anything about those business models. Those business models that are treating 2, 3, 4, or 5, whatever patients per hour. Unfortunately, that's just the way it is. And we have no ability to change that. All we have is the ability to demonstrate what we do, discuss what we do, like put out videos, put out content, run Google ads, run Facebook ads, whatever, do things in the community. When we're treating our patients and clients, providing a great experience so that they go and tell their friends, neighbors, coworkers, family members, whoever, about what we do. I think that's what it's all about. That's the main thing of what we're talking about is that exchange of value. And it's not for everyone, and that's okay.
Right. I think you're absolutely right. As I said earlier, if I can convert 4 out of every 10 calls I get from self-paying out of network, I'm happy about that. As I told you earlier, I think in the pre-interview is like, we can't be everything to everybody. And if you try to be everything to everybody, you will fail. You just can't. So you have to know what lane you're in and then do everything you can to really develop that lane. I think we do have to face the reality that, we've had Medicare cuts for the last many years. And to be honest with you, my own opinion, whether it's right or wrong, hope I'm wrong, but I don't see that ever going up again. I just think that we have to look at the last 20 years or however long it's been. I mean, my gosh, when I opened my first outpatient clinic in 2002, when a Medicare referral came through, I was pretty happy because it was, I don't know what it was back then. Maybe 120, 125 a visit, something like that. And it's not that anymore. And so, we have to face the reality. If you want to be a one-on-one provider, that's not going to allow you to thrive. It's just not. And so I hate saying that. And we'll see what.
But you guys still take Medicare for the time being, correct?
Yes, we do. We've been a company for almost 5 years now, and we have. And, it's, I don't know how close are we to not taking. I don't know. And, I have franchisees as well. And so just because I choose to not take it doesn't mean they don't have to not take it because they're their own company. We have the iMove PT brand, but if Dr. Craig Lee in Kansas City, who I heard his name mentioned on your podcast the other day.
Go Birds. Go Birds, Craig.
If yeah, he's the loyal Chiefs fan, buddy. He's a loyal Chiefs fan. He went through a little bit of depression for a day or two, but he's come back.
Good.
But no, I mean, it doesn't mean that they have to stop. It's just, it's, I don't want to just survive. I want to absolutely thrive. And anyone who's in business should be wanting to thrive because we know that if you're self-employed, you will work more hours than if you're an employee. When I go home, most times my workday does not stop. Now, I don't know that I'm not saying that's ideal, but I think the reality is if you're self-employed, you will work more. So why in the heck would you not want to thrive? Thrive in 2005, Dave. Oh, thrive in 2020.
2025. Holy moly.
Again, the reality is the reality. We see what the practices have been in the past. And unless you're happy with that model, and again, you'll never have a shortage of patients because there is a large number of patients that say, I have insurance, I'm going to use it. Well, guess what? When you're out of network, you can use your insurance as well. And that's a selling point as well. You're going to use your out of network. We're going to use your out of network benefits for the insurance you have. And sometimes the plans are not bad and sometimes they are.
Right. Yeah. So we have a biller that does the out of network billing, but it's probably like 40% of the practice. So I think 60% is 100% self-pay because they're Medicare, Medicaid, or they don't have out-of-network benefits on their plan or whatever. And just say like, if you wanted to work with us, here's how much it would be. And they, on their own volition, decide to work with us and pay us out of pocket. Now, a lot of times, by the way, some people might have issue with this. A lot of times patients have goals or their situation is it shouldn't even be medically covered anyway. Like someone calls up and they're 60 years old in New York City and they're like, yeah, I can walk 3 blocks, but I want to be able to get back to walking 10 blocks. And it's like, if you can already walk 3 blocks and you have no issues with the vital ADLs of your, dressing, bathing, cooking, cleaning, personal hygiene, whatever. I mean, technically Medicare should not be paying for that and does it. And then they go to an outpatient office and they bill their Medicare, maybe write that in their note. Maybe they don't. I don't know what they do, but a lot of the things people want is like they want to optimize their situation. It's not always like an actually truly medically covered service. So that's like another part of like, but again, they could go down the street and some other place will bill their Medicare Part B for them for whatever condition. And that same person, what they told me over the phone, obviously I don't care. I'm not going to know, nor am I going to go whistle blow to Medicare. I don't, whatever, but it's like a lot of times it's like not even like truly medically necessary.
Well, and I think that's a good point because that that brings us back to kind of self-pay. I don't know, Dave. I don't know if you've ever your company. Well, you're not a Medicare provider, right?
We're not.
So I don't know if you've ever worked somewhere where the company you work for has gone underneath the Medicare audit or they're auditing notes. But my company, we had a Medicare audit last year where I think there was 3 or 4 patients that a therapist of ours was seeing mobily. And by all accounts, she was seeing these people for probably too long a period of time. Because
like 40 visits a year, 50, 60, 70, 100?
like enough to where we were well over the $3,000 per year mark where they can audit notes. We were well over that. And the thing was, to me, as I looked at the notes, I'm not saying the patient didn't have any pain or didn't have any problems at all, but sorry to be 75 and not have any problems. But it looked to me like it was more of a personal training kind of thing. The patient wanted the therapist to come. But as we dove deeper into it, not only did we didn't get paid on a bunch of claims, we use it as an opportunity to educate our therapists that, when the patient they're independent and functional with their ADLs, and that patient still wants your care, because who wouldn't? Whether you're having a mobile therapist come to you and having a highly skilled individual exercising, working with you for an hour, because at that point, they're probably not doing a lot of manual therapy, or coming to the clinic here where they're getting amazing technology. Who wouldn't want that? Hey, insurance is paid for. But we as therapists have to abide by what the Medicare rules are. So we use this as an opportunity to say, hey, guys, when you're at this point, we have self-pay options. At that point in time where there's not a medical skill need anymore for your services, guess what? That patient wants you to keep coming to them. They want to keep them in the clinic. Fine. But
a lot of the Medicare beneficiaries want the therapist to continue to come and want it to be run through the Medicare. They have no onus. They're not going to foot the bill when there's an audit and Medicare comes and recoups money from you.
Right.
That patient doesn't care. Now, if they have their credit card on file and they're paying something out of pocket per visit, they will maybe value the experience a little bit more. They're a little bit more serious, but there's some people that will not pay out of pocket for that conversion to go from the medically covered service to the self-pay. And in my opinion, that person is not the ideal fit for a self-pay service, for physical therapy, to go from physical therapy to wellness or training, whatever you want to call it. And that's okay. But the practice owners also, your competitors that are maybe doing home visits or Medicare, that take Medicare in your area, they will take on that risk. If that patient calls your competitor and they start doing home visits, whatever, there's other practices that'll just run the bill up, continue to bill Medicare, and they worry about those consequences later.
You are right. But it's prudent upon us as professionals to know what a skilled service is. And when that patient no longer meets the Medicare requirements for a skilled service, it's not a Medicare covered service, we need to have the courage to stand up to that patient and say, look, we can no longer do this. Here's why. And a lot of us are too nice of people because we want to take care of the patient. But after my experience last year, it was not a great experience. I mean, it was thousands of dollars that I didn't get paid on. Now, if you're an employee, yeah, you don't like it because you know your employer isn't getting paid, but the employee still got paid.
Yep.
Yeah, she was very upset. It was not a great experience. But ultimately, we use that as a tool because my mom, who was an amazing person, she goes, nothing is so bad that good can't come out of it. And nothing is so good that bad can't come out of it. And so the bad was the Medicare audit and not getting paid on probably 60 claims total. I don't know, something like that. So what is that? Probably $6,000 I was out of. But the good that came out of it is we use as a tool to educate our therapist, say, look, this patient can no longer be a covered Medicare patient. You need to man up and you need to tell them that. And then you need to offer the self-pay services that we have. Let us be that personal trainer for you. We know your body. We understand you need what you need much better than you going to a gym. but you have to just do it.
This is the beautiful thing for regardless of whatever someone's age or their situation or whatever. This is the beautiful thing when they are 100% self-pay from the beginning. It is so much easier, Mike. It's so seamless. So here's an example. I have a client. He's basically the only client that I'm still seeing. I'm seeing like one or two, but this one guy I'm seeing almost a year now, just, once or twice a week. Started with like a neurological condition, so walking, gait training, whatever. His goal was actually to get back to the nearby outpatient physical therapy office that referred him to me for home visits. I eventually got him to that point. I walked with him to the office one time to meet the therapist that was treating him. Thank you for the referral, all that type of stuff. We accomplished that goal. He loved the service. Like, he's still going to that office now twice a week in person. Still has me come to his home typically now once a week. All of this is on his private credit card, his own credit card, right? So we get done the gait, balance, walking. Now he has better arm swing and he's able to go walk in the community and he doesn't feel like everyone's looking at him like he's, has like that Parkinsonian walk. Now he's walking more smoothly and walking better. And then, so now we're at the point where it was probably, could be deemed wellness. I'll just note it in the notes, but I don't have to like overly dramatize and have some other thing like Medicare, whatever, potentially going to recoup an audit, pay. As long as I do well with this patient, I do well by them. They're not going to charge back their credit card. The transaction's settled. We move on to the next visit, the next visit, the next visit. Then he's got like some hand and wrist and thumb issues orthopedically. We kind of check that, assess it, start treating that. That gets better. Then it's kind of back to the overall mobility, strength,
Sure.
total body movement, which could be defined as wellness or not an uncovered service. And then we were doing that for weeks or months. And then now he's got stress at work and now he's got all this like neck pain. We assess that, evaluate it, check it out, treat that, whatever, without, asking Medicare or some other insurance for prior auth or, can I do this third evaluation now with the same patient in 12 months, but a different diagnosis or a different ICD-10 code? And now the neck is improving and on we go. And it's such a beautiful thing because I don't have to even train for my therapist, that I have to train them as well. But for that thing of going from insurance to then self-pay, we have to do the same. But it's so much easier when they're already self-pay from the jump, because we can go in and out of episodic care to ongoing wellness and maintenance to back to episodic care and ongoing wellness in a fluid fashion. And the patient and the client and our therapist, they're just scheduling visits that works for both of their schedules. And therapist documents what they did and on we go. And the patient, they know the dollar amount and whether it's a package for you or it's a visit rate for us or whatever, they know exactly what they're getting. They know exactly what they're paying. They're happy. They're referring their spouses, their neighbors, whatever folks to us. And there's no recoupment of money. It's
Absolutely.
such a beautiful thing. It's almost like a real business.
Well, but one of the other points, and I do hope that this can change in the future. In fact, I'm giving a talk to at our state practice spring conference about this, but that and again, it's no knock on any physical therapy school out there. They do a tremendous job. And I know ultimately their job is to get students to where they can pass state boards. I get that. But there's such little, for sure, when I was going through it, even now, there's not tons of business training. And so so many people are coming out of school and they're just thinking of working for someone else and that's all they will ever do. Unless you really have that entrepreneurial spirit and want to learn more on your own, there's going to be very few of us out there. And I'm not saying, I'm so great, because it's not easy doing what you and I do. But one of my hopes for the future is that physical therapy schools can at least start having a little bit more business knowledge, education, insurance, all these things. So maybe it will help people when they graduate from physical therapy school want to start going down an entrepreneurial path because ultimately I think patients is all ultimately this gets back to patient care. And I feel that patients should receive the care that they need without being confined by the insurance rules and regulations. We're out of network, but some out of network patients, they still require authorization.
Some of these plans are paying, what do they pay per visit?
If we see someone out of network,
for a 4-unit visit?
I'd say the most that we received is probably around $350 a visit.
There we go. There we go. Yeah.
Some are paying Medicare rates.
Yeah.
So it just really depends. But at least I've got the opportunity, and I can still have my one-on-one model, and I can still promote that. And we'll never. I Move PT as a company will never steer from that. Now, we may go into areas in the U.S. I think there's still a few selective areas, at least as of a few years ago, that you could still have a one-on-one practice and be in network. So if a PT wanted to be a franchisee, I'll just say in Seattle. Seattle used to be really good. I don't know what it is now, but if they were in network and average maybe $120 a visit, then I think you could do some of that. I don't think that's terrible. But there's very few areas that we could have a franchisee and be in network. I think there's very, very few. I know for sure not in New York.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a beautiful thing to have the credit card on file, to be fully all in on that person's visit, where they understand the true value exchange and respect our time and give us a heads up if they need to change their appointments or whatever. Plus, we do enforce the 24-hour cancellation policy. That is a big disagreement that I have with Jerry Durham, and he posts a lot of content about that. I did debate him on my show about that. Do you guys still do that? You still do a 24-hour cancellation policy?
Yes. We still have a missed appointment policy, 24 hours in advance.
Full dollar amount, full rate, 25 or 50.
Well, the first time we gave everyone a freebie. Next time it's a $50 missed appointment fee. There on out, it's $100. As you know, it could be
That's a lot of extra to track.
I know, and we've got our own EMR, so we have ways to track it that make it pretty easy now to see what we billed, some of what we haven't. But yeah, because I don't want any patient to abuse our time.
Right. Let's wrap up. What's like a final recap or parting shot? So for me, I don't know, some of the things that I've already kind of said of, like, it's different. It's not for everyone. But when we're talking about thriving, you've mentioned the word thrive several times, and you cannot thrive, in my opinion, you can't fully thrive without a team, and meaning staff, physical therapist, another team around you. And the only way to thrive and have more team around you over time and retain that team and retain top talent is to pay them market rate, to pay them what they deserve, and a combination of what they deserve and what the market dictates and what they feel they're worth. And it's getting to the point right now that it's so much easier to do that when you have a lot of patients or all your patients self-pay or out of pocket, because you get that cash flow hits your bank account. Credit card swipe, that money hits your business bank account in 2-3 days, something like that. So there's not like billing the insurance for 30, 60, 90 days, 120 days. Some visits get denied, whatever. You get paid, the insurance takes the money back, whatever. So the self-pay model, the value exchange with the patient and client, also helps with building a team, because you have some extra cash. The cash flow is better because it's hitting your bank account sooner. It's less likely to ever disappear, get clawed back. And patients, I mean, I've never had a patient do a chargeback on their credit card. I'm sure it's going to happen eventually with someone, but it just hasn't happened. So the self-pay model, although not for everyone and not always appropriate for everyone in terms of financial resources, we understand that, but it allows the current generation of physical therapy practices to serve their patients and clients, pay their therapists what they deserve or what they think they're worth, retain them longer, grow that team over time. And I think that is a great way to, for me at least, to recap this talk about thriving or building and growing a thriving physical therapy practice and business.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. And I would say my parting shot is this. I don't know if you saw the recent movie about Bob Dylan and his life, the one with Timothy Chalamet. Have you seen it yet?
Not yet.
Oh, come on, buddy. What have you been doing? It was a great movie, but there's a Bob Dylan song that times are changing, and I don't know if that's the exact title of it, and nor do I want to sing it right now because you would never have an audience again. So I would say that times are changing, and if you ignore it, you're going to be left behind. Or maybe you're not left behind, but you're going to be fighting for every penny. We didn't really even get talking about this much, but you know what? If you think as a small provider that you can negotiate with insurance companies, most of the time you're wrong. Now, if you have a very special niche or if you're in an underserved area, perhaps, but you're wrong. You're not going to be able to. And if you do get a raise, what's it going to be? A couple of pennies or $1 or $2, which isn't going to impact things. So times are changing. If you choose to have an in-network practice, I admire you, and you will be seeing many patients a day. However, adopt technology. Use this thing called the World Wide Web. No matter how old the patient is, they still use it. And adapt and change and use our knowledge and our skill set to go beyond treating back pain for 2 times a week for 4 weeks. There's so much more that we can provide, that we can do. And if you start to get out of the in-network model, you all of a sudden your eyes are going to open. You're going to be a lot less stressed because you're treating less patients. And as you just said, you will have better cash flow to allow you to provide for your team, because you don't want to open a business and just be you.
Amen.
Your income potential.
We got to get you out of patient care.
Yes, I'm working on that. I don't know if I'll ever get to where you are. I do enjoy it. I do a little too much right now, but I definitely still really enjoy it. But you're right. It's you can't treat, the most amount of patients, obviously, if you're treating 1 per hour and you're treating 40 hours, it's 40 a week. But if you're really wanting to make an impact on social media and Google and all those things, that takes time. So yeah, you can't be treating full time. But I think that our future is very, very bright. But I think our future is so much different than the past. Adopt it, accept it, and go forward and spend some money to get technology. It'll come back to you. I promise that.
Absolutely. We'll have to do a technology episode sometime.
Absolutely. Anytime. So grateful for you, Dave, and everything you're doing to promote private practice, and admire you. And maybe once we get off this Zoom, you can show me your son who's almost a year old.
You got it. Thank you so much, Mike. We'll talk soon.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Hey, it's Dave Kittle. Are you a healthcare business owner or physical therapy practice owner who is looking to figure out your succession plan or exit strategy? We might be able to help. And in fact, we may be interested in acquiring your practice. If you're interested, you can reach out to me. Shoot me an email at dave@conciergepainrelief.com. That's DAVE at CONCIERGE painrelief.com. Or you can call me at any time, 646-781-8884.